Welcome to this episode of the Cloudsourcing Storytelling Podcast. Host Julian Mitchell will be connecting you with guests from a wide range of different media genres and platforms. On today's episode, the panel is discussing sustainability and green filmmaking. Guests include Eduardo Vietes, CEO of Creased, Angela Ballesteros from Sony Pictures Entertainment, and Strategic Marketing Lead Barbara Rossell. Welcome to the Cloudsourcing Storytelling Podcast.
Hello there, and welcome to a new episode of Cloudsourcing Storytelling. And this is potentially the most important one we're going to do because it's about sustainability in production, in the cloud, how the cloud helps with what's going on. And we've got some great speakers today. I'll introduce you to Eduardo Vietes, who is a film director and CEO of Creased. And Creased is one of the first companies in Spain to measure carbon footprint in the film industry. We also have Angela Ballesteros, who's International Sustainability and EHS Director at Sony Picture Entertainment. That's Environment, Health and Safety. I had to look that one up. And we have Barbara Rossell, who's Strategic Marketing Lead at Sony. Welcome to all of you. Eduardo, can we start with you? You're a film director and also you're part of this new company, Creased, in Spain. Tell me about a production that you directed at the Canary Islands and how you use the cloud to reduce the carbon footprint of a production.
It was a commercial campaign.
Could you explain exactly how it was shot and how you used the cloud to do that?
It was 2020, in the very middle of the pandemic. So Canary Islands used to live on movie productions coming to the islands, both cinema or advertising campaigns. They live on that and the tourism. So unfortunately, the pandemic ended up with that activity. They were really concerned. So the government of Canary Islands contacted us just to look for a solution. Okay? At that point, it was not usual shooting in the remote. So we were the first in Spain to shoot a commercial campaign just to show everyone that they could produce any content in Canary Islands without moving. Okay, and we did that with a cloud system that allows you to direct or to record sound, everything from home. So it was quite exciting. The quality was quite good, actually. And we get to realize that in that way, we reduce actually 90% of the carbon footprint. That was quite remarkable.
And this gave you a realization that production could be done this way and carbon footprints could be reduced this way. And then you began Creased at that time. And how did you get on explaining this to productions? What would happen? What would they have to do?
Well, actually, this is curious that after that commercial campaign, 90% of the productions happening in Canary Island uses one way or other way remote shooting. Right now it's part of the working flow. The work now is showing them that it's even better for the environment, using this technique. So it's quite popular right now.
Angela, you were involved with Sony Sustainability, and obviously your productions, a huge amount of productions that you're in charge of and doing in that way. But it's not for everybody, this approach. I mean, we're talking about a remote production, extreme remote in 2020, now perhaps not so extreme or acceptable. How do you think it will go forward with companies or productions that are used to jetting around the world and big movies, big TV productions? What will they look to do?
So Sony Pictures, we've committed to reducing, our carbon footprint. We have a very well-established sustainability program, and one of our goals is to achieve sustainable production status for all the productions that we have around the world, so films and TV productions. We've been working with different local organizations, like Albert Consortium here in the UK, and the Green Production Guide in the US, to gather information, to understand where our impact is, right? So with all of that information, we know that, and that's exactly what Eduardo was saying, that we know that the biggest impact is travel. So travel is two things. We do a lot of air travel, and also we do a lot of ground transportation. So we basically move lots of people around and lots of equipment. So if we can reduce that, we're going to be able to reduce a huge percentage of the carbon footprint. Just to give you a few numbers, for film, 47 to 54% of the total carbon footprint is use of fuel. And that use of fuel, again, comes from air travel and ground transportation. And 10% is generators. We use generators for shooting on location. So if we can reduce that, we're going to be able to make that transition. To be able to make that transition, I believe that we need to show the opportunities that we have with remote production, right? We need to show that it is possible, is going to cost less, is going to require different skills for the people that work in productions right now, and it also is going to reduce carbon footprint.
Yeah, you're talking about maybe Whisper Productions, is that right?
Yes. So I'll tell you about Whisper. So Whisper is a production house here in the UK that was acquired by Sony Pictures back in 2020. So they've been using remote production since probably 2018. And they, just like Eduardo's story, in 2020, they ramp it up because of the pandemic. So they do, in 2022, they broadcast 785 hours of remote production. And so that was 60% of the total sports broadcast output, which makes, a big, big difference. Because I did just a little comparison between one of their shows between 2021 and 2022, their carbon footprint was reduced in 42%. And this is the carbon tons of emissions per hour broadcasted. And when I say broadcasted, is not the broadcasting itself, but the production, just to make clear.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference.
Huge difference. I mean, that's nearly half reduction from 2021 and 2022, did you say, in that year?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's impressive. And I would expect a lot of your productions, maybe live productions, sports productions, will be going the same way. Is it a template for other productions?
I don't think that we're there yet with like our scripted productions, unscripted productions, just because in films, because we were not seeing that switch, right? We need to be able to promote that more so it can take off.
Yeah, and I expect Sony has new cloud technology like Creator Cloud, which I think has been launched this year. And
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, perhaps Barbara, you can tell us a little bit about that and how that's going.
Yes, so Creators Cloud, it's our offering, so we can really help the production companies and the broadcasters into first getting the data on the cloud, and also then managing and editing on the cloud, and being able to broadcast on the cloud if you're doing news or other type of applications. But I think the key thing here is all about collaboration and remote collaboration. So anyone now who does not need to be on set, let's say, can really work and participate into the final production remotely. So we have this great offering for SONY, and obviously there are lots of other technological advances that really help into sustainability when we speak about film production, like for example virtual production. And Angela, I think you have done yourself a very good study that was showing that virtual production was actually helping to cut between 75% and 80% of greenhouse gas emissions when using virtual production. So the technology is definitely helping. So this is where we're also trying to get into this vision, as sustainability is very important, I think, for many people, as for me, as I can imagine here in the call or in our audiences, but also as a corporation. Sony is doing lots of big efforts into going towards this, which is great. So pretty much we can help all the production companies and companies that really want to reduce their environmental, let's say, vision. So yeah.
Sure, we all need to do our part for sure. But the cloud itself is a massive success story anyway. But let's talk about what might be around the corner, as in not regulation, but guidelines to productions about how to go forward with their shoots. And Eduardo, you were telling us earlier about using AI in what you do. How is that implemented into what you do for productions?
Well, the point is we got to realize that any positive impact you wish to have in your production needs to be planned earlier. I mean, once the production is going on, you cannot change anything. Not in movies, advertising campaigns, or big events. So you need to use artificial intelligence to see what is going to happen in the future, so you can take actions to reduce the carbon footprint before it happens. That's the key. And in Spain, at least, and in Europe, I know, for helping the culture, governments are starting to ask for sustainability plans linked to this kind of predictions. So they get to know what are your plans to reduce the impact, and what can they expect. And I think the regulation is going to go in that direction. So you need algorithms and big data to see what is going to happen.
And actually, Eduardo, that's right. And actually in France, since March this year, now if you want to get some funding in France, for example, from the CNC, any production needs to show a carbon emission report. So I'm sure, Angela, you see this also in other regions, but this is something that is getting more important. And let's say the regulations are following, let's say, the trend.
Yeah, here in the UK, if you're going to broadcast a TV show, you need to follow the Albert Consortium toolkit, so a carbon calculator. If you want to be certified as a sustainable production, you need to complete a carbon action plan. I know also in Germany, any production there, especially if they're going to get funding from the government, they need to follow the same thing. All the programs that we have around the world have basically two things: a carbon calculator and a list of best practices in a different format. So Germany and Belgium are doing the same thing.
Also, one of the points of the artificial intelligence is good practices are better, because, we know that we need to get rid of plastics or whatever, but where is better to invest in its production to reduce the carbon footprint? That is what in Spain they are asking, and you need the support of data.
You're very right in saying we need to work with the productions, and that's something that we aim to do during prep, because when they start shooting, they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to talk to, the CEO of the company. No. So we try to do the same, and we try to look at what the opportunities for that production are to reduce carbon emissions, and it depends on the region. So some of the things that we promote is the use of renewable electricity, but not everywhere we have that available, right? Use of energy efficient equipment like LED lighting or electric generators, things of that nature. But those decisions have to happen during prep. And so if we have the information of more or less what the bigger impacts are going to be, if you look at the schedule and you say, okay, this is a production, we're going to shoot in a stage for 10 days, and then we're going to go off into a location for 20 days. So there's a great opportunity to say, okay, let's do remote production with the technologies available. Let's do virtual production in a stage instead of moving people and equipment to a location. Again, the decisions need to be made during prep.
That's another layer, isn't it, Eduardo? Another layer of, not bureaucracy, but I mean, we've all been through COVID and we've done the COVID testing on the set. So we're used to these other layers of practice. So, you know, if funding or tax relief are being affected by not acting in this way, surely that's the way to go, is persuading, hold-handing productions in this way. Not that they need to know there's a problem. We all know there's a problem. It's just working through that problem. I'm sure that's the way.
Yes, and to know it from the start, right? So from the planning, from what you were saying, Angela.
So what you're doing now with your company, Eduardo, do you see that happening? I know we've mentioned Germany and EU and France, but further afield, I know Albert is another society or an organization it's pan-global, but are you attracting other companies with your experience of what you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. Because using technology is quite easy, you know. I mean, it's affordable and it's easy. So as the companies are pushed by regulation, actually it's an organic growth of the sustainability. I mean, you don't need even to market the solution because the production companies come to you because they need a solution. And this policy of requesting sustainability plans for funding the films is raising the awareness between the producers. So it's not just the regulation, but they do wish to be cleaner. It's kind of natural wood, you know. So it's growing there.
Angela, what do you think about your productions? Are they all going to be on board? And is your job going to migrate more into this world? I mean, that's what you do anyway, I suppose. But
yeah,
hand-holding your productions through this.
Definitely. I think that we take it one step at a time. So we've been working lots on electrifying productions. So meaning using what I just mentioned, the renewable electricity, energy efficient equipment, using low emission vehicles. So that's just removing fossil fuels or using renewable fuels. So that's the step that we're in right now. So there's lots of case studies. There's a lot of companies now that are making that technology available. I think the next step is definitely remote production, virtual production, things that we don't have to move. We don't have to go anywhere. We could shoot everything from just one location.
You know, in Spain, for instance, American companies used to come with many crew from America. So betting on local crew is also a way of reinforcing the social sustainability, what we call social sustainability.
Yeah, and a point about that, many productions look for tax rebates, and the tax rebates are usually associated with the percentage of people that is hired locally. That happens here in the UK. I'm pretty sure it happens in Spain and in other countries. If you want to get a tax rebate, you need to hire locals, which is great.
Yeah, that's a positive side of this story. Okay, Eduardo, can I finish with you and let's jump sort of 5 years from now, and you say, do you think this kind of practice will be quite normal? From someone, a member of a crew, say, today, what would you advise them to do? Is there a certain amount of training that they could be part of, or do you think it's just what you're given and what you can find out from companies like you? What's the thing to do straight away?
Right now, we are training people in Spain through the Spain Film Commission and public organism. But I know that in the United Kingdom is happening also through Albert,
Yeah.
and in France with EcoPro, it's another institution we are close to. So it's happening. I mean, it's getting popular.
And Angela, you would agree with that, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. The industry is shifting, so we need to change. We need to provide people with new skills that they need to be able to stay in the industry.
Okay, well, that's fascinating, scary at the same time, but it sounds like it's all moving in the right direction. Thanks very much.